Welcome back to Wellness with Purpose, the podcast for people who believe that living isn't a luxury, it's a decision.
I was working myself to death, had no idea that it was all related until I really started looking at every single thing that had happened, from dehydration to my back locking up to then shingles. I mean, it was one thing after another, weight gain, hair falling out. And so when I had the time and actually could be reflective and look in, I realized that I was not doing life was doing me. I think the number one thing that people do especially women, is that we hyper focus on something and we go for it, even if we don't like it. There's so many people who are like, I'm going to the gym. I'm spending 45 minutes to an hour and a half and I'm working out every day, and they hate it.
Yeah.
And so having that negative response to something that they're doing that's healthy counteracts what they're doing. You can't carry negativity forward and expect a positive response. The biggest challenge, I think, is that I'm a pioneer in what I'm doing, and it's really hard for people to understand what I do.
So we actually had our guest yesterday, and Technologies has other plans. We cut off more than once. So rather put out something choppy, we made a call to do it right. And I'm so glad we did. We cut off today as well. But here we are with a full energy and grace. So our guest is someone who truly deserves a full and uninterrupted conversation. She is Mayo's and National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach, a licensed interior designer, a Reiki master, an environmental activist, and in her word, a lady chef. She's also the founder of Wellness Design Group, a company on a mission to help women redefining age after 50 so they feel strong, sexy, and energized about the life ahead of them. Her approach, it combines the thing you wouldn't expect to find in the same room. So before we got into this, I again want to say publicly, April, thank you. Thank you for your patience, your flexibility, and showing up again today with the same energy. It really says about who you are. April Raque, welcome back to the show for the real this time.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad we can make it work.
Of course. So, okay, we are doing this right today. So let's go back to the beginning. What is the story behind the Wellness Design Group? Not the elevator pitch, but the real story. What was happening in your life that made you say, okay, I need to build something that looked like this?
Very simply, burnout. I was in a corporate job and was working 60, 70 hours a week. It was a series of health-related incidents that ended up in having to take a week off because I was suffering from shingles. That really put me over the edge. And during that time away, I had to do some serious soul searching on what was I doing with my life. I was working myself to death, had no idea that it was all related until I really started looking at every single thing that had happened, from dehydration to my back locking up, to then shingles. I mean, it was one thing after another, weight gain, hair falling out. And so when I had the time and actually could be reflective and look in, I realized that I was not doing life was doing me. And I really had to take a deep dive and see who I was again and find myself. And that took a lot of work, as you know. It doesn't come overnight, but I happened to sit down with a book that I had on my shelf for years called Finding Your North Star. And I worked through that. And out of that self-exploration and that week of work, I was on a mission to help women like me have a different life and do it better.
Yeah. I feel that this comes from a very personal place. What I also love about you that you have built that is not fitting into any boxes. Most people are either a health coach or an interior designer or a sustainability advocate. You are all three, and they are not separate in your world. They are inseparable. So for someone who have never thought about that connection between the space they live in and how they feel inside their body. So how do we explain that?
Yeah, in studying with Mayo Clinic and really diving into each dimension of well-being, I realized that we were overlooking or not looking hard enough at environmental wellness. It was taught from a place of disparagement and not having access to health practices or health support and community. But there was a bigger piece of the puzzle missing. And through my studies with interior design, I knew how design affects the human body ergonomically and with spatial layout. But I really started diving into how it actually affected our physiology
Mhm.
from our mind, our body, our spirit, and how it could actually support our health initiatives. And it's actually an easier thing to wrap your head around doing than it is to say change your, nutrition habits or your workout habits or meditate more. Um, People love to redesign their homes. And so the opportunity was there to explore that more. And I really just kind of took my resume of all the things and mashed it into this is what I really need to focus on is wellness from the space and how that supports life.
Yeah. I mean, once you experience that connection for yourself, it is really impossible to ignore. So when you started your wellness design group, so what does those early days actually look like? Were you already working with a woman in this capacity, or you were just figuring out what the business would look like?
Kind of a little bit of a both. I think for any entrepreneur, you're kind of building the plane while you're flying it.
Mhm.
And for me, I was working with groups of women and women individually. And with the individual clients that I had the opportunity to explore how their space was supporting them or hurting them.
Mhm.
And in that, I got to work more and more on, hey, let's start here as your jumping off point instead of jumping into a whole habit change or some completely different lifestyle. Let's take the easy way and look at your space. And so I dabbled in it here and there. And then the more I was talking to people, the more I thought, this is really should be my main focus because I have all of this knowledge and all of these skills and experience. And if anybody looked at my resume, they would be like, what is happening here? This is all crazy. But when you piece it all together, my environmental work, my health work, my design work, my business background in marketing, like all of it just fits.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Of course, I mean, when you're building your roadmap, you have this vision in your head. But of course, when the reality of getting it off on the ground is completely different, but you made it all. So that's really amazing. Oh, so what was the hardest part that most people from the outside wouldn't have seen? Because from outside, it looks very beautiful and a cohesive brand.
Mm,
Building something like this, like it could not have been without any struggles.
sure. Sure. Lots of struggles. I think the benefit for me is I had a couple of businesses before, one right out of college that was very small. And so I learned a lot from that experience. But then the second one I had was actual design businesses, sustainable design business in 2007, 2008. And if you remember at that time, the housing market bottomed out and we lost a lot in our society and our culture, but in the design build industry,
Mhm.
we were at a standstill, and that business just faded because of the market being the way it was. So I learned a ton in that moment of what to do, what not to do, where my strengths lie, where they don't lie. And so in setting up this business, I knew that I needed a banker. I knew that I needed an accountant. I knew that I needed safeguards in place with insurance and systems. And so I really concentrated on finding the right people for that because that's not where my strength lies.
Yeah.
I'm a creative spirit. Yes, I can do math, but that's not
But
where
on an
my
everyday basis.
I need someone
Yeah.
who can do it well. So I set it up in a way that the pressure wasn't all on me
Mm-hmm.
to start. So I think that's one of the things that from failure I took forward and how to make it a more successful venture. But there were other struggles. I think my biggest struggle is finding my niche and understanding who my client is. And I started out and I was like, I'm going to be a health coach and this is going to be amazing. And then I realized that everyone's a health coach. And so there's a wide breadth of people out there doing and wanting to bring health to individuals. And so I struggled with finding my niche and sticking focused to it because I wanted to serve everybody, but you can't do that in business. You have to find a thing that this is what I do.
Yes.
Yeah, and being agile. So I had to shift and change and shift and change along the way. I'm still doing that and still fine-tuning where I am and who I'm serving. So it's a journey. It really is.
And I really appreciate your honesty in sharing that. So let's talk about what you actually do, because I want people listening to really understand this. So when a woman comes to you, she might be 52, she's exhausted, maybe going through perimenopause, feeling invisible and feeling like her body has betrayed her. So what does working with you actually look like, and where do you start with her?
Yeah, from a coaching perspective, I've kind of segued out of just being a health coach. So if I'm working with someone, it is intentional that we are working on your home. Because now there are so many things with women's health that are uncertain and are not researched as well as they should be. We're finding new things every day, and it works differently for everyone. So you would definitely just have to be a coach in that moment with them and stay in that scope of practice and help them make changes on their own, which is really difficult because women want answers. We want to know, what should we be doing? And because I know that that is such a tumultuous, individualized area, my thing is, you know what? There are people for that. There are hormone, specialists. There are people who can help you with nutrition. It all has to be a partnership between, but I can help you from the standpoint of your home.
Okay.
So when they come to me for that, I work as more of a consultant coach on interiors, where I'll work with you to decide, what is it that you're looking for? What are you trying to support? I have a client right now who has severe allergies. She has suffered with Lyme disease in the past. She has a real concern about Alzheimer's and dementia. And so we started there. Like, what are your concerns? What is it that you want to have in your life that you don't? Where do you want your life to be? Is it a stress thing? Or in her case, is it an actual medical diagnosis or situation? So we start there, and then we kind of unpack, from where you are now and where you want to be. How do we get you there with your home? And so in her case, we've done her home. It's completely chemical free. There are no toxins in anything, and none of her furnishings, none of her cabinetry, countertops, flooring, rugs, you name it. Nothing has a toxin in it, which is remarkable. But as you might think, it's very difficult to do in this day and age.
No, yeah, of course. I completely agree. Yeah, of course, you are not even advising her to go and sort out your nutrition with the nutritionist and sending her up. But this is something very different.
That's very different.
You have three different paths a woman can take, like education, transformation, and community. So for someone listening right now who is very curious, how they know that which is the right entry point for them?
I think it really is just a personal question of what am I ready to do?
Okay.
Where am I? So if you're contemplating a change, maybe you're not even contemplating a change. You just know something's wrong and it's not working.
Mhm.
Um, but you don't know what it is. That person is going to be better served with getting more information, understanding what's out there, understanding themselves and what they're going through. The person who really is ready for a change, maybe they're not ready to make a huge jump. So they just want to talk with people who are also in that same sphere, to
Mhm.
be in community. And then the other is, I'm ready to go. Let's do something. And so it's like, all right, let's design your space.
Okay, so yeah, there is really door for wherever someone is in the journey. So
Yes.
let's show them the door. Okay, this is the door for you right now.
Yes.
Okay, I understand. So one thing I find very fascinating is I was studying like it's a biophilic design element, like
Mhm.
using natural and the nature spaces as a tool for healing.
Mhm.
For someone who has never heard that word before, how would you break down to them what actually means in practice? And why does it matter for women's wellness?
Yeah. So biophilic design has been around for centuries.
Oh.
It is the art of connecting with nature to bring that nature inside into our space
Mhm.
and to create balance and harmony with the natural elements. So, we as humans are deeply connected to the environment around us, to nature, to our earth and our planet. And because of that connection, we have things and modalities like forest bathing, where the Japanese culture will say, if you're feeling stressed and you need a break, you need to go bathe in the forest. You need to go sit and drink in that natural environment. Research shows that it drops cortisol levels intensely fast. It can calm your nervous system and regulate you. It really helps you balance your complete system. And so, if we are designing to that connection and that power that nature has on us, that comes in the form of bringing in elements like wood and stone and textiles like cotton and wool.
Okay.
Um, Having those natural elements in, it's more than just bringing a house plant in your home. It's really intentionally creating space where you have a view of the outside to look at, or you have art that mimics nature so that you can look at that and regulate. It really is a practice in itself. There are 15 principles of biophilic design, everything from air quality to water quality. Each element has a place in the home. And so when you're looking at it from that biophilic perspective, it's imperative in all designs that we incorporate that,
Okay.
and especially in wellness spaces, because we need that connection.
Okay, wonderful. I mean, it's the thing you said that we don't even realize that how environment is affecting our health and in real and in measurable ways. So I
Mhm.
completely agree. So what is the number one mistake you see like women making when they are trying to get healthier in this stage of our life? So whether it's a nutrition, their environment, their mindset, or maybe all of the everything that I said.
Sure. I think the number one thing that people do, that, well, especially women, is that we hyper focus on something and we go for it, even if we don't like it. There's
I,
so many people who are like, I'm going to the gym. I'm going to the gym. I'm spending 45 minutes to an hour and a half and I'm working out every day, and they hate it.
yeah.
And so having that negative response to something that they're doing that's healthy counteracts what they're doing. You can't carry negativity forward and expect a positive response. So I think when you don't like what you're doing in the name of health, that's where this is the worst thing that you could possibly do.
That seems very small on the surface, but it's really very significant. I do what you actually love.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So just let's be real for a minute because I think the most valuable conversation happens when we drop the highlight reel.
Mhm.
So, what has been the biggest challenge for you personally in
Mhm.
building wellness design group? I Not the textbook
Mhm.
answer, but the real one.
Oh gosh, there's so many. No, I'm just
You're on.
Oh, the biggest challenge I think is that I'm a pioneer in what I'm doing, and it's really hard for people to understand
Mhm.
what I do. And I have cooked it 5 different ways, and it's just really it's something that takes a lot of education, even with my clients, educating them on um the feelings that they get in spaces, and to sit in a space and really think like, how does this make me feel? Or educating people on toxicity of materials and what that does from a harm perspective and chronic illness. I mean, I spend a lot of time educating, and I think that's probably the thing that holds me back the most
Mhm.
is that I I am constantly talking and educating everyone about it.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. And honestly, it is going to help a lot of people who are listening, who are all building in this phase, of course. So you have this multi-dimensional skill set: coaching, design, Reiki, nutrition, sustainability. So which is your superpower? But I'm curious, like, has it ever feel like challenge to help people understand like what you actually love and what you actually do?
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's tough, but I think my superpower and what I've learned from all of my coaching education is how to listen.
Wonderful.
Yeah. That just comes in handy every day because you really have to listen in for what people are saying and what they're not saying.
Yeah, because of course you might have Instagram account and person who are finding your Instagram account might come for a very different reason.
Mhm.
That's someone who has been referred to a doctor, but it's good to have a like a something which is your superpower. So wonderful. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
So okay. So can you walk me through like how you run your business day to day? Like were you personally spending most of your time right now or that is where you want to be spending it?
Um, I think I spend more time than I want to on marketing.
Mm.
And that is for a couple of reasons, right? Brand recognition and helping people understand wellness design, but also to drum up business and fill a pipeline. So I have a lot of where we are today in all of the tumultuous, troubled times that we're living in. People are kind of holding on to how they're spending their money and being more intentional about it. So with regards to building development and redesign or renovation, people are kind of just in a place of, oh, I better hold on for a second. So I've got a lot of proposals out, but I spend a lot of time marketing, and I wish that I had more time to be creative
Mhm.
and didn't have to worry about that. But you're running a business. You
Yes.
have to market yourself. You have to be out there. You have to have meetings and create space. It's a must. But from a creative standpoint, it's like, oh, I don't want to spend my
You're
time on that. I
missing,
want to, yeah,
you're
I
missing
want to
that
just do.
out. Yeah.
Mhm,
I mean, this always reveals a lot about what's actually on someone's plate. And right now, your plate is full of like marketing
mhm,
work. So I get it. So, right, like today, if I ask you what feels more manual than it should right now, like what you're doing things by hands or relying on, which is heavily on yourself,
mhm.
that a system could, maybe a tool could probably handle or a system could handle. So, what do you feel that?
Ah, I think social media is the thing that is just like, oh, so daunting. It's needed for a brand, and you must have it, and you must be out in that sphere. And I know everything's changing too with SEO kind of, it's still there and
Mhm.
necessary, but it isn't as necessary as, say, getting your name out so that AI is picking it up and serving you up. I am very Gen X when I say that AI is very scary. And I don't know how to use the tools properly. I am a writer. I have
But you want to spend your time with, of course.
yeah. And so I write a lot, but I know that there are ways that I could possibly use tools that are out there that could help me to make that more simple. Or make the stuff that is just brand building and marketing, maybe that is less manual than it is today.
Okay. Why I ask is because a lot of wellness practitioners are they are running very incredible programs.
Mhm.
But of course, the back end is a kind of a held together with like a with a duct tape.
Yes. Yes.
So here's the hard questions, and you don't have to sugarcoat it. Yeah. Do you feel that if you don't solve the growth and the real challenge what you have now, like in the next 12 to 18 months, and if the business just stays exactly it is, what does actually is going to cost you? I mean, not in a financial way, but in terms of the woman who needed what you have and didn't find it.
Mm. Yeah, if I hadn't really thought about it in the perspective if it didn't happen. But if it didn't, yeah, you would, I mean, it would be just as stressful and could lead to stress response again that was very similar to what I was living in before.
Mhm.
Um, but life has stressors and it is how you manage that. And I would hope that I would manage it differently if the outcome wasn't or the outcome became more stressful.
Mhm. Wonderful. Yeah, I think that the real cost is bigger than most people let themselves admit.
Mhm.
But of course, eventually we think about in future. So we had to replan. We have to plan ahead most of the time. And of course, I mean, even I'm in the business and I also think 6 months down the head, what is my plan is going to be? Of
Sure.
course, how to stay ahead. And in this age technology, I think we are not a 6 month, it's just one day ahead. I have to think aloud.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. It is. It is crazy. It's changing so much, so
Yeah.
fast.
So the final
Um,
expression is like exactly what you're saying because
yeah.
it is shaping every industry right now. So
Mhm.
I I heard that you say that you're saying for like a Gen X AI is scary. So are you using it in your business and are you very curious or cautious or you are someone just watching from a distance and trying to figure it out?
I would not say that I'm using it currently for my business. I'm trying to understand it before I just jump in. I used to have lots of friends who use it all the time and who are just like, "Oh, my AI said this," or "Oh, my chat GPT said this," or blah blah blah. And I'm just kind of like, "Ooh, okay." But I'm cautiously optimistic about that being a tool. And I hope that I can understand it well enough to understand then how it could be used in my business. I mean, I was looking the other day at a tool that would do quick renderings off of sketches. That for a designer is
Right.
mind blowing, because we spend hours. I
I
used to
agree.
do them by hand. I used to do them with like by hand in
That,
school
that's
because
a creativity, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it has evolved from that to being computer driven now, but if AI can just do it with a few prompts and a sketch, my gosh. It's but I really don't understand it or I don't know how to use it in that manner yet. So I'm
That's
hoping that I
fine.
could do that.
There is no right or wrong answer. It's
Right.
just like, are you passionate about, or are you something looking about, or you are just not, you're hiding your eyes and you're like thinking something will pass by. This is not something which is going to go away.
No.
It's here and it's reality.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
we are coming to the last few questions. I really like yeah, asking these questions. Like if someone waved a magic wand and give you the back like 8 to 10 hours every week,
Mm.
hours that you're currently spending on marketing, on maybe creating your funnel for yourself or the content. So what would you do with that time? And what will become possible for you?
What would I do at that time? Selfishly, I say I would go to the beach.
What about the creativity?
Right? Yes. Yeah, I would probably I know this sounds nuts, but I would probably read more And I might even paint more. I paint, and I haven't painted in a good year or so. So I would probably pick up some books and my paintbrush again.
Yeah, wonderful. And how about your this coaching? Do you like will be going to the different seminar and educating? If you have like a
Yeah.
the funnel is full of leads and prospects.
Absolutely. I love going to conferences because it opens up new trends and new ideas, and you get to hear from other people in other areas that are doing things. There's a lot of conferences for both health and wellness and design. There's also wellness design conferences, so there's a little bit of everything. I mean, fortunately for me, I have to go to those things because I have to have continuing
Yes.
ed credits. But yeah, I think that if I had more time, I would definitely spend time at those.
Wonderful. So we are really getting close to the end, and I don't want to let you go without asking this one. If you go back in time and sit down with the April who just starting this,
Mm.
who had this vision, but you have not taken the leap, what would you tell her? How do you know what you know now and you wish she had known then? What would
Mhm.
you tell her?
I would tell her that you don't have to have it all figured out just to jump. Just go for it and figure it out later. Yeah.
That's incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
I
It
think
is.
a lot of women are going to hear that and feel seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We try to figure it out as women. We want to have it all together and planned and know that this is going to be the success. And that just takes up too much time and energy. And you should just go for it.
Mm. And looking forward, what are you building towards? What is the next chapter for the wellness design group look like?
Right now, I'm working on creating a continuing education course for my peers in design. And my goal and hope with that is that I would then start educating other designers and builders and architects on how to design to this human centric approach that is well being.
Oh, wonderful. I love that you have a very clear vision. So, April, this conversations has been everything, and I hoped it would be more and more. Thank you for sharing so openly your story, your struggle, your vision, and that kind of an honesty. It actually takes courage. So, it's exactly what this audience needs to hear. So, thank you for spending time with us. This is Wellness with Purpose, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.